I'm Oh man, we're gonna have yes, Mule and Bucky tonight?
It's a
Yeah.
mule and donkey
Yep.
show. It's a mule and
Yes.
donkey show. That's what
Yep.
Jess is saying. Jess is saying it's a mule and donkey show. Every single week, Jess gets super excited, and Steve and I try to match his excitement because we're talking about mules and donkeys for the next 60 minutes of our life and hopefully the next 60 minutes of your life, too. We are so glad that you are here spending a little bit of time with us. If you are live, extra special thank you for joining us live. And if you're watching this on the replay, as Steve, so many folks watch the replay, they'll send us message. They'll say, hey, I was out working. I couldn't get in time. Hey, it was 1 a.m. in the morning in my neck of the woods. I'm taking you international the next day. We get so many people saying, hey, I had to work late. Matter of fact, there's some folks, they work every single week during this time, but they go and they download all of the podcasts. After this program, the next day, we publish the audio on our podcast so people can go and they can listen to it on the road. They don't have to use up all of their data streaming the video. They can listen to the audio. We do this every week because we want to put these resources, this instruction in front of you and see if it just can't help you do the things that you're looking to do. It's been less than a week since we've seen most of you. Of course, last Wednesday we had a live webinar where we talked all about the basics of ground foundation, getting started with ground foundation training. So it's been 6 days. Steve, how is it going out there in Queen Valley?
Well, we had our first fire Sunday. I was just sitting down at lunch right after church, and all of a sudden, tone went off, and I looked and it said fire. So I finished lunch and then went out there and we got busy. I think I sent you some pictures there, Dave. It's fun watching that big old 747 come down and lay it pink, we call it. It just naturally keeps the fire from eating up any of the other stuff right there. And it was a shooting accident. What happens is people are shooting these metal gongs. Yeah, there's that 747 right there. There's the Chief's truck right there. And my truck is right behind it, my engine. But there it is. They just got done shooting off. You see how pink that is? And that just lays out. And what happens is we have to duck inside the truck because that pink comes right over top of us. And you can see the guys that got caught in the middle of it. Their helmets are all pink. But that's the cloud right there. And that lays down right across that fire that burned. And any little incidentals that are there, man, it flat puts it out. Now, get this, Dave. Every time that tanker lays down a load, it's $150,000.
I mean, that ain't chump change.
No. Now, here's the problem. You see, this is frustrating to us. I mean, we're the first responders. We're there first before state fire gets there and before tunnel fire gets there. And here's the problem with this, is that they open it up and say, okay, shooters, come and shoot. You can have this area to shoot at. And it is a disaster, Dave. You ought to see the junk laying around, old TVs, wash machines, and things like this they shoot up. And the Forest Service tells them they can go and shoot there. Then, now get this, then when they have a fire, it cost us almost $500,000. Not us, but that's in result, in result of what it costs for fire. Now that makes a lot of sense. Now I know people ain't gonna be too happy with me when they say, Steve, you should have said something about Tano or state or anything like that. Well, something's got to get done, folks. It is plumb stupid to allow people to go out and turn our desert upside down. If you went out there, you would swear it down. It was an old dump site. Not just one of them. I mean, there's got to be 25 sites out there that they shoot up and cause a mess. But now I'll get off of that, and we'll talk about mules and donkeys then. There you go.
Hey, there's your PSA for the day. And
Yep.
we're going to give you some more PSAs, but this one, public service announcement, it's going to be straight 100% to help you gain the trust of your animal, get results when you get out there and train. Man, this is a life that is meant to help you disconnect from the craziness of this world. This world is just going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. Of course, a lot of us. There's a book that we read, and it kind of just tells us, well, what did you expect? And so even within that, connecting with just the outdoors and livestock and animals and creation, that puts you in a different frame of mind. And so we want you to be able to enjoy that time and not feel like, oh, hey, this is causing me frustration on top of the frustration I'm seeing on the television. So we want you to enjoy it. There's 3 things that we ask if you're new. We would love to have you join in with the rest of us. First thing is that you share your name, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. Of course, we have so many awesome friends who are already on Facebook and YouTube right now modeling that for you. And so we're grateful to them showing you exactly what that looks like. Why do we want that? Not because we want to spy on you, but because we know you're spying on us, and we want to be able to say hello to you and give a little bit more personal interaction in this digital age where everything is screen. So hello to you. We're glad that you're here. Share your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like. The second thing we ask, and we need this one this week because I only have a couple questions already queued up. Of course, Steve's got some things he wants to talk about, but any and every mule and donkey question that you got, put it in the comment section. No questions been asked too many times. Of course, there's plenty of questions we get for the first time, even though we've been doing this several years. And no questions too dumb, no questions too advanced. If we know the answer, we'll share with you what's worked for us. And if we don't know the answer, we'll say, hey, give it a try maybe, and let us know how it works for you. So any mule and donkey question that you got, put it in the comment section. Third thing we ask is that you share the broadcast with friends and family. Next week, we would love to see your friend on this broadcast saying, hey, I was invited by so-and-so, and I'm so glad they let me know. This is the best hour I spent all week long. Golly, that would just be great to hear. Wouldn't it, Steve?
Yeah, boy.
That'd be fun. All right. Well, let's get to it. Hannah's watching from Florida where it's 90 degrees, shouting out, God bless America. Steve, you got it right there in the background?
That's right. That's right, by golly. That's our flag.
God bless America. Sherman Johnson, thank you for the footage last week, Sherman. Norman, Oklahoma, 87 degrees. Diana's watching from Northern California, where it is an 84 degrees. Andrea, hey, Andrea, thanks for the pictures. We appreciate that. Alabama, 78 degrees. Beautiful day with my donkeys. Now I'm watching the kids swim in the creek. Can't wait to teach the donkeys to come down here with us. Great talking to Steve this afternoon. The Steve Edwards on the phone. The Steve Edwards. That's right, folks. Give Steve a call and he'll visit with you. Kristen is watching. Howdy. Watching from north central Idaho. We were bear hunting in the Idaho backcountry this past weekend, and we lost a concho off the rear of our trail light saddle. I texted Steve about this, appreciated the quick response. Looking forward to watching today and learning more about double checking tack before every ride. What a great reminder. That's right. We do everything we can to get back to you as quick as we can. Thank you so much, Kristen. Karen is watching with Ava. Hello, Ava. Here in northern New York State, high 70s here with heavy rain, thunder, and lightning moving in. Dave O'Brien, East Texas. Great to see y'all. 89 and humid. Christina's watching. Good afternoon from southern British Columbia. It's raining hard, and I can't complain about that. Misty's watching from central Texas. Humid. I sent a Facebook with my question. I saw it, Misty. We'll get to it. Cheryl is watching from North Carolina. 82 and sunny. The twins turned 1 today, and boy, have they grown. Very cool. Send in updated photos, Cheryl. Edna's watching from Spring Hill, Florida. Always great watching you both. Christina's got our first question. Steve, what are your thoughts on whorls on the forehead face influencing temperament, especially more than one whorl indicating a complex personality? Steve, what is she talking about? Is she talking about like a cowlick on the hair?
Yeah, in the middle of the hair, there's a lot of times different swirls and this sort of thing. And the old cowboys used to kind of look at that and they'd look at the eyes being close together and the eyes being small and the ears being close together and wide apart. Looking at those kind of things kind of gives you an idea ahead of time what's going to be. Oh, wait a minute. What's that called, Dave? When you look at somebody ahead of time and you make decisions?
Judgment?
Profiling. So yeah, it's a type of profiling. Yes, it is, and it's all part of life. Anyway, here's the deal. Yes, I have seen that, and yes, it has come out to be pretty close to being the truth, and it moves around different directions, And the busier it is, usually the busier the mule. So, and the quieter it is, usually the quieter it is. The quieter the mule. So yes, in general, you're right. That's been one of the old timer things that they used to look at, profiling the mule.
Awesome. Good question there.
Yeah.
Okay. Misty has got a question about a mule getting more acclimated and comfortable. He came from Colorado sometime within the past 9 months, give or take, to the best of my knowledge. We're in Texas, and it's been a lot of rain, and it's humid to get our port, and poor guy is feeling it. Access to a salt block, fresh water that I fill daily. I don't like to give so much it gets hot and nasty, so I choose fresh daily. He's eating fine, doesn't seem to like the garden hose yet. What, if anything, can I do other than give him time? Plenty of shade, and there's always the breeze. So, what do you got? What do you got to say here?
Well, yeah, just give him time. Sure, you bet. You always want to build up a relationship, but remember, you are the herd leader, and that's really, really important. Andrea, she sent us a great picture of her mule and this sort of thing, and her donkey actually. And she said, Steve, I was hoping if I could just maybe get 200 yards. That's all I wanted to go, was about 200 yards. And if I could get that, I thought, oh man, it may take me all day. She says, I put that come along hitch on there, and within minutes, this thing was responding. There's my mule girl, Andrea, and her little mule, and I forgot the little mule's name right now. I got it right here. And she put that come on hitch on there, and she said it was like the light come on, boom, and it was great. So that's Andrea and Summer. There we go. Now she wants to use her around the farm there, and they build her a nice barn and stuff, and they want to use her for a pack mule, and they want to ride her, which she's a nice riding size. She'd be really good for that, okay? And she's a pretty stocky little mule or donkey from what I can see. So I said, the other thing, Andrea, hey, these donkeys are great for training for driving. They can actually pull a little cart around your farm, pull your shovels and stuff in there, and and go around. It'd be perfect, absolutely. So right there, folks, this is what you've got to understand. Groundwork. I can't tell you how many people this past week, people have said to me, man, I had this hard time, and I couldn't do it. And then I put the come along hitch on there, and kapow, I was doing it. Well, then I had some other people say, boy, I've worked with the come along hitch, it's not doing it. You have to also remember, folks, how long has the mule or donkey been doing this, okay? How many halters have they had on incorrect? How many rope halters have they had on incorrect? How many people have been using those donkeys or doing different things and done a bunch of incorrect things? You can't expect it just to go boom, boom, boom. Now, I have to be Andrea. She got it right off the bat. Wham. She says, I put that come on hitch on there. And this is the mother. She's got a 10-year-old too. That's a daughter that's a little bit more offish. And she put this on there, and she said just a couple of light bumps, and it worked right away. Now, you can have one like that, folks. It's a disposition. The disposition is worth 110%. But here's Andrea. Congratulations, Andrea. She got the job done, and all she's got to do, you see how she's got her stall back there behind her, and she's keeping her little donkey in there. She can keep an eye on his feed. She can keep an eye on the salt. She can keep an eye on the water. All that stuff is really, really important. But that come-along hitch, folks, I had one lady said, you mean tell me, Steve, I can't ride for 6 months? I have to use that come-along hitch? I said, 6 months? builds a foundation. If you feel like you can ride in between that times, go do it. Okay, but let me tell you this. I want you to go, on any of you, if you don't feel you want to put forth the effort, then I want you to go out there into your car and loosen up the brakes so you have no brakes, none. And I want you to go and go ahead and go to the store and go to the movies or whatever. But tell me how long it lasts before you have a wreck. You see what I'm saying? The come along hitch trains from the nose. And that nose is going to get you to turn right, to turn left, to back up, everything. Now, this same lady I was talking about, she just bought this mule, and she said he's been professionally trained. And I said, really? Well, how come he don't side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on hindquarters, and he doesn't back? And you also tell me that he doesn't have a very good stop. Listen, folks, if you don't have a backup, you don't have a stop. Okay, so you see, there's supposed to be this professional trainer who this guy learned of this professional trainer, and he trained this mule. And now this lady bought this mule. It happened to be good disposition, but she bought it from a lady who passed away. And this lady had it professionally trained by this understudy of another trainer. That's a well-known trainer. And he had gone up to Canada to show people how to do training sessions and this sort of thing. But here it is. Now, listen to this. This mule is professionally trained, but yet he can't turn on the forehand, can't turn on the hindquarters, and doesn't back up. So wait a minute. We got a problem. So you all go back, forget about the professional trainers, do them yourself. Like Andrea here is. There's so many of you out there that look at Mr. Sherman. He's out there clicking away, and doing a great job. And then Dave, he's out there from Texas, and he's got a couple colts, and he's doing it himself, and we can go on and on and on. Even Pengelly is starting to get it. He's getting ready to have a couple mules. And I said, well, what happens if you get the mule and he's not working out so good? He says, I'm going to sit down and watch Steve Edwards videos and figure out how to fix the problem.
That's fun. That's good. When he says Dave, did you say it was David Pengelly, right? Not this Dave.
No, Dave O'Brien.
Dave O'Brien. Okay, good. Yeah. That's fun. Okay. Hey, Steve, real quick. What would you say if somebody were to get the come along rope and just feel like it's too aggressive, too abrasive, it's too much of a old school way of doing things, and just kind of go back to a halter?
Okay, so here's the thing. When you communicate to a mule or a donkey, you want to communicate to the nose on top, underneath the chin, because you have some very good nerves underneath here, and across the top of the pole. Now, across the top of the nose, can teach you to go right and left and to back up. Underneath the chin is stopping and helping refine going to the left and to the right. Now, there's nerves in the nose, but you're shutting off the wind, and there's nerves underneath here as well. So we want to keep those all refined. And then the one in the back is that when you want to teach one to go forward, the pressure from the pole here asks the mule or donkey to go forward. You cannot get that refined communication with a halter, with a rope halter or with a nylon halter. Sure, you can get some stuff done. It's just like I told you, go loosen up all the brakes on your car or your truck. Yes, you can go places, but will you have a wreck? Yes, you will. Okay. And old school, are you kidding me? This is the new old school. If Nick West would see what I'm doing with a come along hitch now compared to how we used to use it and wool them around and stuff, he'd be amazed. I mean, it's just like Andrea. Look how in a matter of a few minutes she's got it done. Ask Andrea if it's old school, if it's abrasive. Ask anybody that's here watching the show right now. They can see the difference. And listen, it's only as good as your hands. Only as good as your hands. Now, like the one lady was telling me that I was telling you about, she bought this mule, doesn't have a backup, can't hardly steer it, and she's using a smooth snap bit. She said, I think I'm going to keep using it. That's what they give me with the mule. Well, wait a minute. And what am I missing here? If you can't back up and you can't steer it, why are you using that bit? You see what I'm saying? It's like if you can't back up and you can't steer it, how can you possibly say he was professionally trained? Now, you can ask a little gal by the name of Jody and her sidekick Larry about a little mule called Rocky, who set for 2.5 years. Yep, my old mule Rocky set for 2.5 years. You should see all the things they're doing with this mule, things that I've never done. And they're doing them. Why? Because of the mule's foundation from groundwork. You hear me talk time and time again. I tell everybody, I don't care if you buy a saddle. I'd rather you don't buy a saddle. Keep you out of that saddle, because otherwise you're going to buy somebody a boat. You know who that boat is going to go for? A doctor or an ER place, because that's where you're going to end up. Listen, if you can't do it on the ground, you can't do it in a saddle, folks. You can't do it. You may kind of get it done. You're a passenger looking for a wreck. Yes, you are. Because that wreck you're riding on right now is just looking for a place just to blow up. If you can't stop it, then why are you on it? If you can't get it to stand still, then why are you on it? You see what I'm saying? You can get yourself hurt just as much on the ground as you can in the saddle. But when you land in the saddle, take a watermelon sometime. I've done this for Troxall helmets when they were one of my sponsors. I took a watermelon in front of the camera, and I only dropped it about 3 to 4 foot, and there's all kinds of cracks in it. I said, here's the problem. That's your head. Your head's probably about 70% water. Yeah, water, and massing around that brain in this way, a type of moisture. All right. And that's the other thing, folks. You should be wearing helmets. You know, I know you see me a lot not wearing a helmet, but I can tell you that the majority of the time you go to one of my clinics, I'm wearing a helmet, and it's really, really important. I don't care how gentle Fluffy is. The gentle ones are the ones that hurt me the most. Okay. You see this scar right here? Yeah, that scar right there. That's from a front foot, the front foot of an animal, of a mule. They can kick you standing at their nose. They can kick you. Okay. Just remember, you're a predator. They're a prey animal. Yeah. And therefore, you're already at odds. So don't treat them like Fluffy. Treat them like you're the herd leader. And you better use that come-along hitch. Otherwise, all you're doing is teaching bad habits. And why do you think we got so many sorry mules out there and donkeys? Why? Because of people using incorrect halters.
There we go. Thank you, Steve. Next question. This one comes in from BJ. He's done some work in the past with a mule, had some other training, and got good at riding. Due to health issues, had to sell everything. 6 years later, he's found a mule that reacted nervously when saddled in the past, but was rideable after adjusting the cinch. I'm now told the mule has developed a habit of throwing himself when saddled. I suspect this behavior is due to someone tightening the cinch too quickly while the mule was tied up, causing him to panic and sit back. This has likely become a learned behavior to avoid being ridden. A vet found no medical issue, and the mule's problem began after being saddled with double rigging incorrectly. Do you think this mule is reactive because its owner tightens the rear cinch first rather than the front cinch? I'm unsure if the issue is the mule sitting back when tied and saddled or tightening of the saddle on his belly. I haven't found anyone else with this problem in a mule, so I wanted your opinion. I realize there are many unanswered questions, such as whether he sits back when he is tied in general or only when the rear cinch is tight, and I appreciate any advice or insight you can provide.
The webinar that we just did, maybe Dave, you might know where it is real quick. We showed a video of a mule that I was trying to do his feet. And he was tied to a hitch and post with a halter. And you could see how he gave me a hard time. And just a few minutes later, you see me out away from the post, just a come along hitch on him only, and watch the difference in the mule. Here it is right here. Okay. You see here, I'm picking up the foot. Notice the mule automatically switched his tail. He said, all right, I'm going to get this guy. Now you watch me. Now I've cocked it back. Now I go straight back and I turn it into the inside and I wait. And then I put the leg on my leg. Now watch. I'm working away. And then all of a sudden, kapow. And then the mule really blows up. There it is. Now notice I just let him go. I went back again. I tried again. Look at the tail switching. And kapow, he's out again. All right. Now, I come out again, and this is what people do. I'm doing this to show you what everybody does, what people do. Go back. We got to do it again. No, once you do it a third time, now it has become a habit. Okay. Now it has become actually even part of his foundation training. Bad habits. Okay. Now, same thing. Now, again, the same thing. This mule says, all right, same place. I'm gonna throw a fit. I'm gonna throw a fit. Now, should I have gone a third time? No. But now watch this. Now, no halter, come along hitch only, not tied to nothing. Look at the difference in the mule. Look at the tail hanging down. He switched it at first. I went through the stages. Notice how loose the come along hitch is. That bad, nasty come along hitch that shouldn't be used. Look how loose. Nobody's holding on to it. It's not tight. The mule, look how comfortable the mule is because of that bad, nasty come along hitch. Do you all see the difference? Okay, that right there, that should prove to you that bad, nasty come along hitch is the greatest thing in the world. People are not smart enough to use it. Notice how I'm doing it. I'm talking about it. The mule's more comfortable. You see that? The tail's hanging quiet. It's not like this here where I'm getting myself beat up. Okay, now let's go back to the mule now. Thanks, Dave. That'll work. Let's go back to the mule that's getting saddled. Your vet should have found something to do with his spine, his shoulder, and his right hip. Okay. Usually you get one that blows up like that. They have a hip problem or a shoulder problem. Find a good chiropractor, a good equine chiropractor. They will find it. Okay, so now let's go back. Anytime you're saddling a mule, you always tighten the rear cinch first. Now, here's what you do. The rear cinch gets snug a little bit first. Now, it's straight up and down. 4 inches from that back cinch, which is your foundation for everything. That back cinch. 4 inches is tied to the front cinch. 4 to 6 inches total, but 4 inches is an average. Now your front cinch is at an angle. Why? Because of the way the mule is made. Mules are hourglass belly toward their shoulders. Horses are hourglass belly toward the hip. That's why you need a breast collar on a horse, a breeching on a mule. But your most important cinch is the back cinch. Now, once my saddle is in place, my breeching's on, my breast collar's on, my rear cinch is snug. Now I take my mule and I walk him around. Now, when I saddle, folks, I don't tie to a hitch and post. Okay. Do I train him to do that? Yes. Do I train him to be to a post? Yes. Okay. Do I want that? Yes. But first, it's a come along hitch. I don't want to tie to nothing. It's the best way I can get hurt. It's the best way the mule or donkey can get hurt. Okay? Yeah. So I snug up the back cinch. I snug up the front cinch. my breeching's on, my breast collar's on. I take the mule out and I walk around a 10-foot circle and I come back to my starting point again. I tighten up the back cinch. I leave the front cinch alone and I walk around in a circle again. I come back. Now I tighten up my back cinch again. It's where I need to be. Each time I've gone through 3 inches of holes, 3, 6, 9. My front cinch now, I just make it snug. I do not want my front cinch tight because when I make it tight, I take all that area where the scapula is. Right in behind there, notice folks, where do you see white marks? White marks are not from an evil fitting saddle. White marks are from an evil person who is saddling. What do I mean by that? You over tighten that front cinch. It's inevitable. Why the white marks? Because what you've done when you placed your saddle on that animal, and here's the scapula, and you tighten that front cinch, go out and watch that area. Have somebody walk the animal and watch it. You'll see it move around, all the tendons and muscles and this sort of thing. And when you over tighten that cinch, you restrict those muscle areas, and that's why you have hot spots, and that's why you end up with white spots. Now, a lot of times you'll have white spots just on one side. Why is that? Because the rider is riding to the right. Maybe they've got a hip problem or a knee problem, or maybe they're just not riding square. Have someone walk behind you and see where your belt loop is. See if it's lined up with the center of your cantle, okay? Now, the majority of animals that throw themselves have now put their back out, and they need to have a chiropractor look at them, because every time they hit the ground, they got a chance of putting their back out. You all think about that, okay? That's why I tell you, don't waste your time with people who want to lay your mule down. That's a ridiculous thing to do to your mule. You don't do it. Those mules need to learn how to side pass, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, stand still and quiet to get on and off, stand still and quiet to do all your vet work and shoeing. And most of those animals that I have worked around with, they laid down, it was really pretty, but you couldn't do nothing else with them. Get the foundation stuff done first, okay? So, especially if you have riding in a horse saddle, remember there's only 2 horse saddles out there. You go into any saddle shop, you'll see all kinds of manufacturers. There's only 2 trees, main trees. Yes, there's some offshoots that people say it's for this, that, and the other, but that's a good selling point, I suppose. 2 trees, semi-quarter horse and full quarter horse. 4-quarter horse is a wider one. Semi-quarter horse is a narrow one. I've designed my tree from my saddle pack, from my packing outfit. The bars swiveled, and the arches made wider or narrower. I found out by using that pack saddle how wide my bars need to be. I found out that if I measured my mule in January for a saddle, come January, he was fat and sitting around. Come July or August, after I've been riding him, he thinned out. So what do we end up doing? We end up adding more saddle pads. What does that happen to? We've added more saddle pads to take care of the weight that we've lost, or a heavier one or something. But now we have to over tighten our cinches to get our fat butt up in the saddle. And so who pays the price? The donkey and the mule. Because we didn't take the time to saddle right. Now, Dave will put it on there for you. It's free. It's called Mastering the Saddle Fit. 6 hours of free information, and you will be able to see me putting a saddle on everything, a 13-2 pony mule to a 17-hand Percheron mule. Yeah. Same saddle, just that my rigging is different. You know, the back of my saddle is open so I don't rub the spine. A lot of things are different simply because of what I learned. I don't have a mule saddle. I have a Steve Edwards saddle. I don't want you folks to think you buy another mule saddle, you get the same as what I have. No, you know, Had a guy the other day say, "Will your saddle pad fit this so-and-so saddle?" And I said, "I don't know anything about that saddle. What's a mule saddle?" Well, they may call it a mule saddle, but just what I can see of it, it's got billets hanging off of it. That's horse saddle. It's got a billet on the right front. That's a horse saddle. It's sewed in the back. That's a horse saddle. The rigging plates are in an incorrect place. It's a horse saddle. Why? Because people are used to building saddles for a horse. They say, "Oh, it'll fit. Good enough." Not good enough. Not for my mules, not for my donkeys.
Awesome. There you go. Y'all wind Steve up. We let him go, and he's going to tell you exactly what's on his mind, and we appreciate that. That's why people love listening to this program. Matter of fact, if you're listening to this program for the first time, we sure are glad that you're here. My name's Dave. This is Steve. Every week we do this, so you can join us next week as well. We'll spend time talking about mules and donkeys. And if you've got questions, you can go ahead and put them in the comments section. Whether you got questions or not, we'd love to know that you're watching. Please put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like today in the comments section. If you do have a question, you can ask it. And be sure to share the broadcast with your friends because we're all about uniting people. And if they find out that you knew this program existed and didn't tell them about it, that's going to create division and disharmony. And we don't want that. Jennifer says, "I loved attending last week's webinar, but I'm feeling convicted. I'm afraid I've not been a good steward to my donkey. I've treated him as a pet and spoiled him awfully. Is it too late for me to start over with him with foundation training?"
No, it's not. I can, it's just like my Rocky mule. He was already 8, 10 years old, somewhere around in there. I don't remember how old he was back then. I just know he was a good mule that just had too many people messing with him. And it's never too late, folks. I can take any of your mules and donkeys, and in less than an hour, give you a different mule and donkey, night and day. Use that come along hitch. Use it. Build a foundation. If you build a foundation like we did in that webinar, like I was talking about, these are the steps. Did you see the steps of how to put the head down? That's part of a foundation. You see the steps of how to pick up a back foot? That's part of a foundation. But Steve, I want to go riding. Go ahead. Go, enjoy, have a good time. I used to do that. I used to throw blindfolds on. I used to snub them up to a snubbing post. Some of you haven't gone that far. And I used to do that stuff. It was more important to ride. No, it's not more important to ride. It's more important to do your groundwork first. Then after you get you're doing that rope halter, that come along hitch, is not just for the mule or donkey. It's for you to move your hands, to use your hands to play the tune. Play the tune, okay? To get them, like Andrea said, she says, "Steve, I barely touched it. I barely did it." Well, see, she's had very few people messing with that donkey, so it made it a lot easier. But I got other people, like Miss Rodriguez in California. She's having a horrible time, but she's had so many people dink around with him first, okay? So it happens. And plus that disposition means everything, so there we are, Dave. Don't worry about it, folks. If you got an old mule, old donkey, it makes no difference. Younger than you, I treat them all the same. I do them the same. That's what I do.
So let me tell you, folks, I want you to take a look here. Steve, let me show you this. When y'all get an account at muleranch.com, and when you buy something, you can set up an account, but at any point in time, you can set up an account. When you get an account, you get access to a bunch of free videos. And so right here, if you make any purchase, any digital videos, or if you just want to get whatever free ones we offer, and there you go. That's right there. On muleranch.com, up here at the top, My Account and Orders. You click on that, and what's it going to do? It's going to take you to the My Account page. If you're not logged in, you'll have to log in or create an account. But once you're in, right here, this is where you want to go. It says Watch Videos. And when you click on that, it's going to show you any videos that you've purchased, as well as the free ones that we've loaded up in there. And so you got right here installing your come along rope. You've got the rope halter. You've got the mastering the saddle fit. You've got some surcingle training videos. You've got a Spurs webinar all about using your spurs with the mule or donkey. Right here, getting started with ground foundation training. This is the webinar from last week. And you can click on it right here. It loads up. And you can watch it right here. It's absolutely free. Like I said, just go to muleranch.com, sign in with your account. If you don't have an account, it's free. Sign up for one, and then you can get access to that webinar as well as several other titles. And then if you do, make any purchases at any point in time, that's where you're going to access those purchases as well. You mentioned Miss Rodriguez. She has a nearly 5-year-old green mammoth donkey named Diesel, who you've been training, who you've been working with her to do groundwork, surcingle, rope halter. Diesel is generally unmotivated and laid back, showing more interest when treats are involved. That's how my children are. He requires spurs and a crop to stay active in the arena, though he is more enthusiastic on trails. Recently, Diesel bolted during a walk, leading us to switch to a stud chain for more control, which has helped manage his attempts to bolt towards other horses. Diesel struggles with being alone, having been used to the company of other equines throughout his life, and now only has goats and sheep for company. He often brays during the day, either calling for other horses or at feeding times. Riding him on property is currently manageable, but we're concerned about him taking off the property for rides because he shows strong interest in other horses and reluctance to return home. Do you have any suggestions for how to manage and train Diesel to prevent him from bolting and to help him adjust to being the only equine so he listens better and becomes more comfortable at home?
Okay, folks, we have an equine. And an equine has a hierarchy, and that is the lead horse, mule, donkey in that herd, the lead. And the lead, when it says go to the right, then everybody goes to the right. If it says go to get water, everybody goes to get water. That is the leader. And it is imperative that you be the leader. Can you change that? No. No, that's the way God made them. Can you train them so that they won't need a buddy and this sort of thing? No. Yes, we use that term buddy sour. No, it's an equine. And he's going to be buddy sour all his life because that's what they do. They depend upon one another. And until you can show them how to be comfortable and uncomfortable, until you can show them how to have direction, you're not the herd leader. And the majority of the time, folks, it is your timing. Your timing. Now, it's just like I was saying earlier. Really? You really want to go riding? Well, now we end up with a donkey running off. Well, wait a minute. Then there's a problem somewhere. And it's not my equipment. Stuff that I've been using 50 some odd years. It is your timing, folks. Always your timing. Somewhere you have a hole in your training. Well, Steve, I had him going right, left. Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, but was his head elevated or was his head down? Yes, you've got a kind of a laid back donkey, but when it comes time, flight and fright is going to kick in. Okay? I don't care how quiet he is. Flight and fright is going to kick in because he is an equine. He's an equine. And all this time you've been training, you have a hole in your training. And the donkey says, okay, I see that spot again. It's where you are again. You pulled on one side. You only pulled. For instance, I got to stop him. So what did you do? You only pull on one rein. Folks, don't do a one rein stop on a mule or a donkey. It don't work. Try to do that at the Grand Canyon. Try to do a one stop at the Grand Canyon. Not only do I have a mile down here, but I have people walk alongside, and If I'm packing freight, which is what I did most of the time, I didn't go down with people down the mountain all the time. I only did that like one time to help. Anyway, that was another story. You can't go around in a circle and disengage hindquarters. And a lot of times that's what people do. They grab one rein rather than going right brain, left brain, right brain, left brain, and practice it at home before you get in a wreck. Yes, before you go out there and go riding, your mule should side pass, turn on the forehand, and back up. Before you go out on the trail and go riding, your donkey should turn on the forehand, side pass, and back up. But, Steve, I just want to go riding. Okay, end up in the ER. I'm going to tell it like it is, folks. Here it is. Miss Rodriguez can't stop her mule. He's run off. Well, wait a minute. There's a problem with the foundation. And sursingling, just because you do it a few times, doesn't mean you've got it. Okay, this donkey has had other people messing with it to start with, and you're right back in the same thing again. They use the wrong halters and stud chains. Are you kidding me? That is killing nerves underneath here. You talk about old way of doing things. That should not even be used anywhere. Unfortunately, people are still using it across the nose and underneath the chin, and they're killing vital communication places on these mules and donkeys. So, Miss Rodriguez, I wish I could tell you I could be right there. And like what Tom Dorrance said one time to a lady, because she just couldn't get it. Her timing was having a hard time. He says, ma'am, if I can just get into your skin and you could feel my hands, you would get it. Folks, it takes time. But I want to go riding. All right. End up going riding. Get yourself hurt. Okay. But don't, I've got 32 broken bones and 2 replaced hips because I thought riding was important. It's not. It is not important. You need to be able to control that animal. It takes to have somebody flop around a piece of wax paper or a plastic tarp or even a simple thing as a grocery sack and see if you can still control the animal. Yeah. Can you still control him? I'm talking about the smallest try. As soon as he looks up, fix it. But if he takes off, folks, I'm sorry, your ground communication has got some holes in it, period. Now, while I'm talking about wrecks, I have had several people call me already that have had tack break or things come undone. That happens. When I get ready to go on a trip, and I know most of you all do this, especially you got a horse trailer, I grease all of my zerts. I grease up my wheels. I got little buddy bearings on my wheels on my trailers, and I grease them all up. I check out the lights. I check out my air and my tires, and I make sure all of that stuff is right as I can before I go out on a trip. Now, even though I've done all that, I still have had a blowout. I still have had a mechanical problem. Yeah. Why? Because it's mechanical. Listen, those conchos on the back of my saddle that is holding that breeching into place, that breeching is constantly doing this. Right, left, right, left. Why is that? Right foot goes forward, right rear foot goes forward. So then the breeching goes forward. The left one comes back. So now left front goes forward, right front goes forward. And guess what's happening to those conchos? They're getting moved. They're getting moved. Pretty soon they get loose, and pretty soon they break off or pop off. Now, I have a 40-foot toy hauler. It's a triple axle. Triple axle. I got a brand new toy hauler in 2007, and I'm going down the road. All of a sudden, I look at my left rear mirror, and what do I see? My left rear tire and wheel and brake drum all bouncing across the medium, crossing to the other side, going across other traffic. Didn't hit nobody. Man, I'm glad of that. But what happened? Everything was tight. What was happening was every time we would go around the corner. The wheels do this. That's what they do on a trailer. They move in and out. Well, as that's doing that, there is a aluminum carter key or a metal carter key that holds the nut, the castle nut, into place, that keeps the bearings into place. And what was happening was, as that trailer would go around a corner, that wheel would do this and eventually bend that castle nut or bend that keeper, and it would bend it and it'd break it. And I lost 4 wheels and tires. When I finally put disc brakes all the way around on that trailer, no more did I have to worry about brakes. Every time I would come back after a year, after 4 months of being on the road, going border to border, coast to coast, training mules and donkeys, every season when I would come back, I would take all 6 brake drums, housings, and all off, and I would put new ones on. That's how much braking and stuff I did. But I kept it maintained. I kept an eye on things all the time. Did I still have a problem once in a while? Yes. Same thing with your gear, folks. When you're saddling up your mule, before you put that saddle on your donkey, you look at everything. You make sure those conchos are down snug tight. Now, I can also tell you something else we do. We do from the very beginning, but it does loosen it up, is we use liquid nail or something like that would help fasten that screw in there a little bit better. And if we all use Loctite. Loctite is very important to be able to lock a nut down tight, and we use castle nuts, things like that, because moving parts do come loose. And if you've lost a concho when the concho's on the saddle, it's not the concho's fault. It's your fault. It's my fault for not watching the parts. Look at every bend. Now, if you're smart and you're using beta, you don't have to worry about parts breaking. I've got one of my clients right now I just met, Mr. Christensen. He's an orthodontist surgeon. And he just went into the Powers Cabin. That's a very famous ranch back above Safford, back in the Galuro Mountains. And there's a cabin back there, and there's a bunch of mining has gone back in there over the years. But there's a garden back in there. It's called the Powers Garden, the Power Cabin. And there was a shootout there between sheriffs and a rancher back in the 1920s. Okay. And the ranchers actually shot up these sheriffs and deputies all come in on horses that they borrowed from a rancher out on the end of the wilderness. And they come in all liquored up. You know, there's a book called Shoot Out at Dawn. And Uncle Bud Brown knew Tom Powers, who was one of the boys that ended up going to prison and stuff because they had a shootout and killed some sheriff's deputies. Anyway, long story short, this orthodontist had borrowed a couple horses, an Arab horse of all things, and they were coming up out of Rattlesnake Canyon, coming to this one gate, and all of a sudden the breast collar broke. Leather that was dry and didn't get maintained. The saddle went back on the horse. That's what happens on horses. The saddle went back. The horse blew up. His 16-year-old boy was able to bail off. The horse rolled down the side of the mountain, got wedged between some rocks. Now, here's an orthodontist with no practical education when it comes to the School of Hard Knocks on the side of a mountain. And he's down there trying to figure out a way to get that horse out. Now, he got him out, come up the side of the hill. They got him saddled back up again. They kind of fixed that breast collar up where they did good. And they're coming out, and just before the gate going into the wilderness, it broke again. The horse went off the side again. Luckily, the boy, 16-year-old, didn't get hung up and didn't get hurt. But I can tell you, a lot of them have. Now, going back to this, folks, it's tack. The nice thing about the beta, there's no maintenance to it. It's got 650 psi per square inch. Leather don't have that. It barely has 200 psi per square inch, and it depends on the type of leather and how thickness and this sort of thing. So going back to this, I got rid of all my leather breeching, all my leather breast collars. I got rid of all that, and I went beta, indestructible. And I've had some pretty serious wrecks over the years, folks. And I can tell you that when leather breaks, you better have yourself a kit. Anybody that goes back in these mountains should have a kit, sewing kit, little stitch all, and you should have copper rivets and things like this to fix your tack. And the other thing is, if you go all beta and get rid of that leather, well, I'm a cowboy, I gotta have leather. Well, go ahead and stay back in the cowboy age if you want, but you're going to get yourself hurt, you know. So going back to this, folks, fix your tack. Check it out. When you put your saddle up, always turn the stirrups and put a PVC pipe through it or broom handle so that your stirrups stay shaped on leather or the Cordura. Now, here's what I tell you to do. On the Cordura, you can tie and you can do the same thing with your leather too. Tie your fenders back to your tie straps in the back of the saddle when you put it in a trailer. Don't let your fenders just hang in your stirrups, okay? It's not good for the saddle. And if you turn the stirrups and turn them back, then that way the stirrups stay in place. You get home, you take the saddle out, you put it in a saddle stand, you turn the stirrups and put a brace to it. Again, checking your tack all the time. Now, one of the things I talk about and Dave talks about is it's great that you guys found one of my saddles. Man, I talked to two people today that was able to find my saddles used. One was on eBay, another one was on another spot. Great, fantastic. Let's make sure it's okay. Let's check and make sure the tree isn't broke. How do you do that? You turn the saddle upside down. You put the horn on the floor. You take the back of the cantle and you push down and you listen and look for creaking and cracking. Because if the tree is broke, you'll hear it, okay? Now, I can tell you, I've got several of my clients. I just had one just recently. Lives over here in Chandler. Matter of fact, Dave and I went over to their place and we looked at mules and we shot a bunch of video and stuff. And there it is right there. Look at Dave. Man, he's just on the ball right now, okay? So we went to this thing. He actually had a horse, a mule here just, what was it? About a month and a half ago, slide down the side of the mountain, okay? Slide down the side of a mountain and roll over, and it never broke that saddle. That saddle tree of mine is super double fiberglass. It's not rawhide, and it happened to take that collision, okay? And that's really good. I've got I've got a lot of people who have had wrecks. The wreck day's coming, folks. It's going to happen. The closer you are to making sure your tack is in excellent condition. Look at the fenders, okay? As you can take your fender and you can pull your jockey up and you can oil that back in there and pull it down and look at your adjustments on your fenders. Notice on my fenders, okay, how they're made up and how I use nylon on them and this sort of thing. It's really important. If you're going to use leather, which I got some of my saddles are done in leather, oil it. Turn it upside down like you see in my video, and you put that leather oil in there, leather new or whatever it is that you're using, and you oil it up. You've got to oil your leather saddles, folks, and you've got to wet them to shape them. Nice thing about Cordura, you don't have to do that. So there you are. Wrecks are going to happen. You're looking for a place to happen. If you're riding on an animal, you're looking for a wreck to happen. It's going to happen sooner or later. I didn't get 32 broken bones and 2 replaced hips because I had nice days all the time, okay? Now, yes, I rode broncs. Yes, I cowboyed. Yes, I was stupid, but I'm trying to keep you all from being hurt, if at all possible. So, Ms. Rodriguez, go back and start all over again. Because, folks, if your mule takes off and you can't immediately fix it, you most likely have a hole in your foundation training. Okay. Second thing it can be is you did not communicate correctly. Never take one rein and try to do a one rein stop. Don't do that. All you're going to do is make the mule run through his shoulder. A mule can run through his shoulder faster than he can run straight. Yes, they can. Okay. So going back to the one that the animal kept blowing up, hitting on the ground, chiropractor. Folks, every year, my saddles or not, you want to get the dentist to do the dental work on him, and you want the chiropractor to do the chiropractic work. That's the same thing as taking it in for front end alignments, checking out your air and this sort of thing. Make sure your animals are healthy, and make sure you feed them quality feed and this sort of thing. So, hey, Dave, I just blew a bunch of time there.
That's okay. People were loving it. I'm sure they were. Let's see if do you have a few extra minutes? We can knock out a few of the questions that came in.
Get her done.
Diana says, I had my first ride today in the round pen. My Mammoth Jenny does not want to go around in the round pen. Also only walks on with a Smooch when she feels like it. What video do I need to go back and review? Other than that, I thought it went well and I felt safe. That's great. What should she do there? She's got this mule that only wants to go forward when she feels like it with a...
Okay, don't be making noises, folks. Don't say, come on, Fluffy, let's go. Don't do that. Your animals work off comfortable, uncomfortable. Your donkey was feeling comfortable there. You didn't make it uncomfortable. All you did was kind of smooch, and eventually they'll just put you on ignore. Now, spurs, folks, and using your legs correctly. You ask with your calf, tail with the side of your stirrup, demand with your spur. Now, what video would I suggest? Any of you that's going to be riding for the first time, my colt starting video. What do you see me doing there? You see me using the come along hitch, and you see me leading the animal around. You also hear me say, use your right leg to tell the right brain to go forward, left leg to make the left brain go forward. Right, left, not both of them at the same time. And then remember to put your hands down. Okay? Now, your first ride should have been maybe 1 minute. 2 minutes at max, 3 or 4 steps. Unfortunately, folks, we tend to always overdo it, and we tend to want to go more. Don't do that. Do a little at a time. Build the donkey, especially a donkey. You got to build up their confidence. Here you are, a predator on their back. You know, they don't know how to handle your weight. Okay. Now, that's the other thing. When you were on the ground, why didn't you teach the mule to go forward with your hands? Why didn't you teach him how to side pass, turn a forehand, turn on the hindquarters with your hands? Your donkey needs to learn that with your hands, using the come along hitch and your hands. Okay, they need to do that. Don't smooch. Don't use a crop. Miss Rodriguez is using a crop. All you're doing is doing like all the other horse people do. Don't do that. You're riding a donkey. You're riding a mule. Teach one half the animal at a time to go.
All right. Next question here. This one comes from Andrea. Why does a 10-year-old donkey repeatedly nuzzle under mom as if she is trying to nurse?
That's what she's trying to do. She's trying to nurse. That 10-year-old should have never been sticking with mom. When they first separate them, they should be completely separated. Okay? And they will continue to nurse all their life if you'll let them be close together. See, now you've got what we kind of call a bottle baby, which makes it kind of tough because now they've been spoiled. So you're going to have to toughen up, Andrea. You're going to have to put him in a small pen. And that little 10-year-old bottle baby, so I'm going to call it a bottle baby, is going to have to, it's going to bray. It's going to be upset. It's going to paw. It's going to rear in the air. It's going to paw at the gates. It's going to say, I want my mama. Don't do it. All you're going to do is create more of a problem. Okay, Andrea? So put it in a pen. Folks, put your animals in a 20 by 20 stall. If it's a donkey, a small donkey, put it in a 10 by 10 stall. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Just, yeah, you got a little bit of cleanup to do, but that cleanup tells you how healthy the animal is. So Andrea, you just going to toughen up, put them in a small pen. Don't put them together, all right? Otherwise, you end up with what you got now.
Vic says, when I'm out riding Gus, he does very well. The first time riding with a group, came up to a rest area, tied off to go to a tight post, and he was fine. Or tie post, he was fine. Someone showed up with a dog. This dog came towards us and he went nuts. I got him calm. How do I get him used to other dogs? He is fine with mine. So he's fine with Vic's dog, but not with other dogs.
Okay, understand the dog is still a predator. And dogs move certain ways. And that, your mule probably saw that dog move a certain way, felt like he was in harm's way, and wanted to get out of there. Flight and fright was kicking in. Folks, you cannot desensitize these animals. They don't have enough brain for it, and they don't have that type of brain. They don't have the cranial lobe, which tells the right side what the left side's doing, or the left side what the right side's doing. They don't have that. And they only have the size of a walnut on each side. That says this is all new stuff. I'll take it in there. You cannot show them every rattlesnake, every bear, every goat, every dog, every cow. Okay? You cannot desensitize them to it. I'll give you the perfect example. I'm riding a really nice 23-year-old mule, and we're down at the Andrada Ranch, me and Randy and Mike. We're riding along. Now, this mule has seen tons of dogs, tons of cattle. She's 23 years old, for heaven's sakes. Okay? I'm riding along, and I'm riding, though. I'm not just dinking. I got my hands on my reins, and I'm riding. And all of a sudden, my border collie, Jess, he comes out of the bushes. My mule blows up, and I mean goes to bucking. I was black and blue from my knees past my belly button, because every time that saddle would hit me, it would hurt. Didn't buck me off. Fortunately for me, I was able to grab my night latch and stay in place. But what happened? What happened? That 23-year-old has seen my dog hundreds of times, if not more. All of a sudden, there he was. Ah! And it happens. Caught off guard. Same thing with my wife. She's in the kitchen here. She's working away, enjoying life. She knows I'm in the house. And she's all focused on cooking a nice meal for me. All of a sudden, she comes around. I come around the corner. Honey. Ah! Okay? It happens. Okay? Same thing with this dog. This dog, you cannot desensitize them to any dogs. Most people shouldn't even have their dog on these rides. The dogs are not trained enough and cause more problems. I can tell you that as an expert witness, on many cases where dogs have been a problem, the person that owned that dog ended up paying a lot of money out, their insurance company, to fix the problem. If you're going to take a dog with your horses and mules and this sort of thing, you make sure that dog's got a handle on them. Okay? So there it is, folks. It's just a way of life. You cannot desensitize them. Ain't going to happen. Okay? If you got the proper halter on there and it's adjusted properly, when the mule jumped around, it would immediately hit him and do it just right. If the halter was not adjusted right, you're going to have a problem and the mule's going to blow up and you can't fix it. A properly adjusted halter, when you use a hitching rail, is going to fix a lot of those problems.
All right, Steve. Yam asks, Steve, a fortnight ago I purchased a Molly mule, and as you suggest, or purchased a Molly mule, and she's getting along fine with the land, but has caught a hold of a scent of a nearby Bucky, causing issues. The boy doesn't have control of her at all when she's run on the smell, and the man mule either. He just jump off the side. No commitment to drive, to train. He's on my side of the family. I'm losing patience.
Yeah. Well, you need to get the come along hitch, and you need to start building a foundation. You need to do that. Um, Dave will give you the information there to go to the series we just had, and to show that you have to use the come along hitch, folks, all the time. You know that hitching post that your friend tied to. You saw the video earlier where the mule was jumping all around. No, the lady didn't have a properly adjusted rope halter. You can see in there, she didn't have it. Okay, but notice the difference when I use the come along hitch. Now, when you go and let me turn this off here. When you go and when I go to a place and I have to get off to get a drink or do something, work cattle, what I do is let me fix this here. What I do is I hobble my mules. Okay, when I hobble them, I hobble the 2 front feet, my front lead rope, my front rein, my left rein goes on the ground, my right rein goes up on the horn, and my mule stands still and quiet. Now, there's a lot of you that's doing that now. I'm hooray, good for you. Remember the video that we saw of Jody? Here is Rocky standing there, not tied to anything, just ground tied. And she had her horse. She had her horse doing some of the same things. Again, no lead rope, no tying them up. Folks, you need to spend more time out of the saddle and more time on the ground so that you can fix some of these problems. Now, if the dog would have come around and you had a properly adjusted rope halter, you could have got a hold of the rope halter and bumped your mule and said, that's not correct. But there again, if that rope halter was already adjusted correctly, all right, and it was on that hitching post, as soon as the mule went to blow up, that rope halter should have done the job. So there you are.
All right. Last thing. Diana said in one of your videos, you said Smooch for forward movement, and also said no spurs on a first ride. Can you just give her some clarification there?
Yeah, and that's fine. Okay, I don't mind a little Smooch, but at the same time, my legs are going to be using. Okay, now with me, I always ride with spurs. You don't have to. I do. When I smooch, I hit with my right leg. I smooch, I hit with my left leg. Okay, but I try not to do that. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of a lazy mule. Okay, and I'll do that just to kind of help encourage him. But pretty soon I keep my mouth shut. I try not to smooch at all. But you're right, exactly. I do it sometimes, but I want to get away from it. I want to just use my hands and my legs. But good point. Good for you. Good catch.
Awesome. Everyone, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Really appreciate it. We love doing these programs each week. More than that, we love seeing you and interacting with you, hearing what's going on with you. Speaking of hearing what's going on, Steve, Cheryl sent this in with the twins there.
There we are.
Celebrating the twins. Thought that
Good
was
deal.
real cool.
Good for you, Cheryl. Congratulations.
So she's
Cheryl.
Celebrating them. Very, very cool sending that in. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, get rid of those nylon halters, Cheryl.
Yeah, get rid of those nylon halters, Cheryl. Get yourself the adjustable one.
All you're going to do, Cheryl, is create problems. I know you folks. Oh, everything's going on just fine. I'm doing fine. The day's coming where you're going to remember that Steve said, put on an adjusted rope halter, and it'll be your best. Or my thing is, no nylon halters, burn the things, and use nothing but come along ropes. Come along rope, come along. You cannot believe, folks, the little problems that you're creating, that right now you're doing okay. But if one day that mule is going to jerk away from you, you're going to wonder why. Why? Because of that nylon halter. So happy trail, folks. See you later.
God bless everyone. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.
Yeah.
Bye.